the last several years of war have changed Americans of all backgrounds, of all life experiences, how it has changed their understanding, not just of the world, but also of the way that our tax dollars have been used, and how you see that impacting this campaign, because you see it so much, not just from Lebanese Americans in Michigan, but so many Americans who seem to actually understand our current domestic conditions differently because of what they've seen unfold on the international stage.
Every time you come up with a plan to do something like put glasses on kids' faces or eliminate medical debt or provide new small businesses health insurance, everybody says, doctor, how are you going to pay for that? But then we've got a general who wants to draw up war plans to bomb Iran. Nobody asks, General, how are you going to pay for that? And I think that's exactly what's wrong with our politics. I think for many Americans, they're opening their eyes to the fact that for most of my life, if you're under 40, you've watched our country go to wars, and you ask, to what end? You see service members broken over it. You see tax dollars spent on it. And you see all of the things that your government should be doing for you not getting done. And so I think a lot of people are finally opening their eyes and asking, I don't pay my taxes so that another country gets a bomb or a tank. I don't pay my taxes to kill other people's kids. I pay my taxes so that our kids get good schools and can walk sidewalks that are actually functional, can drive clean roads, can get health care. And so I think for a lot of people, they're opening their eyes, whether they're Lebanese in a community like Dearborn or they're anywhere in the rest of the state. And I got to tell you, I've been in 90 cities. People ask the same sets of questions about why are we doing that instead of taking care of my kid or rebuilding my kid's schools?
How did we go from fighting a revolution over a 2% tax on a breakfast beverage to what we pay today? And we're also taxed on money. When we receive it, when we spend it, when we keep it, when we invest it, and even when we die with it. It gets worse. We commute to work to make that money in a car that is taxed again, to register on roads that is taxed and fueled by gas that is taxed again, and even further, we get taxed many times through tolls, and that tax is used to maintain bridges and highways and tunnels that already have billions of taxpayer dollars allocated to them, and they're still falling apart. And then, when you get to your office, that is taxed to exist. In a corporation that is also taxed to do business, that almost certainly requires permits and other things, which are another form of taxes. And then, on top of that, you are paid a paycheck that the corporation must match. Another payroll tax on top of what they have to pay you. Then, you go to a home. You have to pay property taxes on yearly that you paid for with money that was already taxed. So when you calculate everything up, including all the sales tax on food, clothing, utilities, and other miscellaneous items, we are paying out anywhere from 70 to 80% of our money for taxes. And the US government is still $39 trillion in debt.
Do these high grocery prices make it easier or harder for families to eat fresh, healthy foods?
I would say that beef has dropped by 1% in the last quarter.
Look, beef prices are up 20%. Banana prices are up nearly 7% since President Trump took office. Cheese prices are up 6%. So again, when groceries get more expensive, easier or harder for families to afford the very healthy foods that you want them to eat?
Well, there's also, you can eat beef, you can eat poultry, you can eat fish, and the price of beef is dictated by the size of the herd. The herd dropped the lowest.
Look, you're not answering, but obviously, if the food is more expensive,
President Trump for something that he didn't do.
Well, let's take a look at this image. Did you post this image in 2024 about grocery prices being too high?
I don't recall.
Well, you did post it. That's your handle up there, and and I agree that grocery prices were too high in 2024. But under President Trump, they have skyrocketed even further. So now let's go to an updated version of this post. Will you post this? The most expensive vehicle.
No, because President Trump actually brought down grocery cause for most of his term. I think there's been a raise recently in the price of everything.
Look, families are facing historic prices at the register. You don't need to be a Secretary of Health and Human Services to know that. You don't need to be a United States Senator to know that. The people in New Hampshire, the people across this country know that because they go to grocery stores today. And the fact that you either don't know it or you don't want to admit it just shows how out of touch you and the Trump administration are.
All of the upper echelon of the government are out of touch. Most of these individuals are well off, while making decisions for Americans who are living paycheck to paycheck. The way our current system operates is one big elaborate scam, cooked up by the politicians and conglomerate corporate heads that continuously pillage and bankrupt the American people.
This is all a scam. I mean, we got people that's getting ready to retire that's going to try to live off $2,000 to $3,000. Impossible. Because what happens, it comes up here, we spend it. We're $35 trillion in debt. We don't have any money. We're dead broke. And then taxpayers have $2 trillion in credit card debt. In this body, we had better start figuring that out, because we're going to have a run on this city here soon, and there's going to be about 150 million people coming up here saying, where's our damn money that we paid in? I could have put my Social Security money 40 years in tax in the market, and probably be worth 8 to 10 million a day. But the federal government wasted it.
All the banks are broke. They're broke because we have a system called fractional reserve banking, which means that banks can lend money that they don't actually have. It's a criminal scandal, and we have counterfeiting, sometimes called quantitative easing, but counterfeiting by any other name, the artificial printing of money, which if any ordinary person did, they'd go to prison for a very long time. And yet governments and central banks do it all the time. Central banks repress the amount of interest that rates are, so we don't have the real cost of money. And plus, underneath all this, we talk loosely, in a rather cavalier fashion, do we not, about deposit guarantees. So when banks go broke through their own incompetence and chicanery, the taxpayer picks up the tab. It's theft from the taxpayer. And until we start sending bankers, and I include central bankers and politicians, to prison for this outrage, it will continue.
So, are you mad enough yet? Are you ready to kick some ass? Are you ready to take down these wicked assholes and hit them where it hurts? Oh, you don't know what that is. It's their pockets.
They're calling this Friday, May 1st, a nationwide day of economic disruption. And the idea is very simple. No work, no school, no shopping on that one day, Friday, May 1st. Joining us now is Ezra Levin, co-founder of Indivisible, which is one of more than 600 groups putting together this day of action. Mr. Levin, it is nice to see you. Thanks very much for being here.
Great to see you, Rachel.
This is something a little bit different. Tell us the thinking behind this different approach and what you're expecting to see on Friday.
It is a little bit different, Rachel. I think people have grown used to, on a Saturday, we have a historic number of people showing up. And I'm incredibly proud to be part of the No Kings movement, where we had 5 million, then 7 million, then more than 8 million people after the largest protest in American history. But I would view this as a tactical escalation. It is inspired in no small part by the incredible organizing we saw in the Twin Cities. There was a day of truth and freedom, is what they called it, if you'll remember, at the end of January, where in sub-zero temperatures, we saw thousands of faith leaders, community leaders, nurses, teachers, just members of that community linking arms and saying, we're not going to treat this as business as usual. The secret police force that this regime is sending around to communities and murdering Americans needs to be stopped. And they raised the alarm in an incredible way. Now, what we're doing here in a big coalition is like that, but at a national scale, where we're asking people to not just show up on a Saturday, but actually flex the economic power that you have to raise the alarm against a billionaire-fueled regime that is leaving everybody else behind. And look, I will say, as proud as I am to be part of Indivisible building for this, I gotta give a shout out to the Mayday Strong Coalition, our union brothers and sisters in the movement who have been leading the charge here. It's up to all of us to do what we can on Friday. Some of us are going to be able to skip school or skip work or refuse to shop. Some of us are going to be joining local protests near us. But it's important that we prepare for what's to come, because I think everybody sees what Donald Trump is doing, promising to engage not just to win the midterm elections, but possibly to sabotage them if they don't go his way. And when that happens, Rachel, it's not going to be enough to show up on a Saturday. Even with millions of people, we're going to have to learn to flex our economic strength in that moment, not just to win the midterms, but to protect the results. May Day is an opportunity for us to test our strength, learn some things, and grow from now until the midterms so we can actually protect free and fair elections.
A tactical escalation, learning to flex a new kind of muscle, which, as you say, is something that can be done on very short notice in an emergency situation, and in addition to a planned event like this Friday.
Comfort slows you down. Reach for natural relief. Night and Day Hemp's extra strength CBD pain relief balm melts into aching muscles, delivering warmth you can feel. Soothe your body naturally. Feel free to move again. Night and Day Hemp balm melts away tension so you can enjoy every moment. Feel the difference fast. Real relief, real results. Order now at Night and Day Herbals.